Billionaire CEO risked everything by hiding who he really was for an entire year. What happened at the wedding will leave you speechless. The velvet box sat on the edge of the bathroom sink, its lid cracked open just enough to catch the December morning light streaming through frosted windows. Inside, a ring that cost more than most people earned in 5 years. Outside, in the small apartment's kitchen, Sarah Chen was burning toast again, cursing under her breath while Christmas music played from a phone propped against the coffee maker. She didn't know that the man she'd been dating for the past year, the man she thought worked in IT support at a tech startup, was actually Nathaniel Cross, founder and CEO of Cross Tech Industries, worth $4.3 billion. Damn it, Sarah muttered, scraping blackened edges into the trash. The smoke alarm chose that moment to scream. She grabbed a dish towel, waving it frantically beneath the detector while standing on a kitchen chair in her oversized Christmas sweater and fuzzy socks. Need backup? Nathan appeared in the doorway, hair still damp from the shower, wearing the same thrift store flannel he'd bought their second week together. The flannel that cost $12. The same week he'd quietly transferred $18 million into a venture capital fund, using his phone while she slept. "I've got it under control," she said, nearly toppling off the chair. Clearly. He steadied her waist as she climbed down, and for a moment they stood there in the tiny kitchen of her Boston apartment. The apartment in the North End where the heating was temperamental and the neighbors were loud, and she'd never once questioned why he seemed so content there. Why a man with impeccable taste never pushed for nicer restaurants. Why someone so obviously intelligent worked a job that paid $48,000 a year. The smoke alarm finally stopped. Sarah looked up at him, cheeks flushed from effort and embarrassment, and Nathan felt the familiar twist of guilt in his chest. 1 year, 365 days of lying by omission. It had started as self-preservation, a desire to be wanted for himself rather than his portfolio, and had become the most authentic relationship of his life, and the biggest deception. "You're thinking too hard again," Sarah said, touching his jaw. "It's just toast. I'll make more." "It's not the toast." The words came out before he could stop them. She paused, reading his face the way she'd learned to over 12 months of small apartment dinners and long subway rides and Sunday mornings tangled in sheets that cost $30 at Target. "What is it?" The ring in the bathroom felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The wedding he'd been planning, the one where she'd finally learn the truth, was 63 days away. He'd convinced himself it was romantic. Propose as Nathan Webb, regular guy, then reveal everything once she'd said yes. Proof that she loved him, not his money. But standing in her kitchen, watching her wait for an answer with toast crumbs on her sweater, the plan felt less like romance and more like betrayal. "I love you," he said instead. "I need you to know that. Whatever happens, that part is real." Sarah's expression shifted, confusion mixing with something that looked almost like fear. "Nathan, you're scaring me. What's going on?" Before he could answer, his phone buzzed on the counter. Once. Twice. 7 times in rapid succession. He watched her glance at it, watched the moment she registered the name on the screen. Marcus Reed, Crosstech Legal. "You should get that," she said quietly. "Sounds important." He let it ring. "But before we step deeper into the choices that will unravel everything, I want to know, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments below. And if you're already hooked on this story, hit that like button so more people can discover what happens when a billionaire risks it all for love. Subscribe, because the next chapters of Sarah and Nathan's journey are going to test everything they thought they knew about trust. The cafe where they'd first met was decorated for Christmas now. String lights wound through exposed brick, a small tree in the corner covered in handmade ornaments. Sarah sat in their usual spot, the table by the window where she'd spilled coffee on his laptop 13 months ago, apologizing profusely while he'd assured her the computer was old anyway. The laptop that cost $8,000, the one he'd casually replaced the next day. Nathan was late. 20 minutes late. Which never happened. Sarah stirred her cappuccino, watching foam swirl into patterns that dissolved as quickly as they formed. Something had shifted this morning. She'd felt it in the way he held her, like he was memorizing the shape of her body. The way he'd looked at her phone number written on the refrigerator dry erase board, like he might never see it again. Her phone lit up. Running late. Don't leave. Please. The please made her stomach drop. When he finally arrived, he looked different. Not his clothes, still the same jeans and jacket he always wore, but something in his posture. Like he was carrying something heavy and had finally decided to set it down. I need to tell you something, he said, sitting across from her. And I need you to let me get through it before you say anything, because if you interrupt me, I might lose my nerve. Sarah's hands tightened around her cup. Okay. My name isn't Nathan Webb. The words came out flat, rehearsed. It's Nathaniel Cross. I'm the CEO of Crosstech Industries. I started the company 8 years ago, and it's currently valued at approximately $17 billion. I am personally worth a little over $4 billion. I've been lying to you since the day we met. The cafe noise seemed to fade. Christmas music, espresso machine, conversations at other tables, all of it retreating until there was only the sound of her own heartbeat and the slight tremor in his voice. I told myself it was because I wanted someone to love me for me. Not my money, not my status, not what I could provide. Just me. And then it became a day, a week, a month. And then I fell in love with you, and I didn't know how to tell you without losing you. He pulled out his phone, opened it, slid it across the table. On the screen, Forbes profile, Wikipedia page, company website with his photo, clean-shaven, in a $5,000 suit, looking nothing like the man who'd helped her assemble IKEA furniture and ate $2 tacos from the food truck on her street. Sarah stared at the phone, at the stranger on the screen who had her boyfriend's eyes. $4 billion. Approximately. You live in my apartment. You take the subway. You use coupons. Her voice was rising now, drawing glances from nearby tables. You let me pay for dinner sometimes because you said you were short on cash until payday. I know. You're wearing a $12 flannel from Goodwill. I like this flannel. She stood abruptly, chair scraping against wood floor. I can't. Words failed. She grabbed her coat. Sarah, please. Don't. She held up a hand. Don't follow me. Don't call me. I need to think. She was gone before he could respond, disappearing into the Boston winter afternoon, leaving him alone at a table with 2 coffee cups and the weight of a secret that had finally destroyed what it was meant to protect. The Crosstech Industries headquarters occupied 47 floors of a glass tower in downtown Boston's financial district. Nathaniel Cross, and he was Nathaniel here, never Nathan, stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office, looking out at the city 20 stories below. From here, he could almost see the North End. Almost. The board is getting nervous. Marcus Reed, his attorney and oldest friend, sat in one of the leather chairs that cost more than Sarah's monthly rent. Shareholders are asking questions. You've missed 3 major meetings in the past month, and your engagement is public knowledge now, to everyone except her, apparently. Don't start. I'm your lawyer, Nate. Starting is literally my job. Marcus leaned forward. The Horizon merger closes in 6 weeks. That's a $23 billion deal that requires you to be present, focused, and not emotionally compromised. The board needs to know you're locked in. I am locked in. Are you? Because right now you look like a man who just set his entire life on fire and is watching it burn." Nathaniel turned from the window. His office was immaculate, minimalist, expensive. Nothing like the comfortable clutter of Sarah's apartment, where books spilled from shelves and throw pillows accumulated on the couch, and the fridge was covered in takeout menus and photos held up with magnets. "She won't return my calls. It's been 3 days. 3 days, 7 hours. He glanced at his watch. A Patek Philippe that cost $140,000. The watch he'd never worn around her, keeping it locked in his actual apartment's safe. She blocked my number. Then maybe it's time to move on. Find someone in your tax bracket who understands the life. Don't. Marcus sighed. I'm trying to protect you. And the company. If she goes to the press, she won't. You don't know that. But he did. Sarah Chen, who paid her bills on time and volunteered at a youth literacy program and returned the extra change when cashiers miscounted, she wouldn't sell a story. She just disappeared from his life as if the past year had been erased. His assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Mr. Cross, your mother is here." Before he could respond, Evelyn Cross swept into the office in Chanel and fury. "Nathaniel, we need to discuss this situation." Marcus stood, recognizing his cue to leave. "I'll be in my office if you need me." The door clicked shut. Evelyn removed her gloves with deliberate precision, each finger a measured movement that somehow conveyed profound disappointment. "A coffee shop girl. Really, darling? She's a grant writer for a non-profit foundation, and her name is Sarah." A grant writer. Evelyn settled into the chair Marcus had vacated, crossing her legs. "How quaint. Does she know what you're worth now? Or are you still playing dress-up in thrift store costumes?" "She knows. I told her 3 days ago. And she won't speak to me." His mother's expression softened. Barely, but enough. "You actually love her?" It wasn't a question, but he answered anyway. "Yes." "Then you're a fool." She opened her purse, extracted her phone, tapped the screen with manicured nails. "This arrived in my inbox this morning, from Victoria." Nathaniel took the phone. An email, short and poisonous. "Thought you should know your son is planning to marry someone wholly unsuitable. I've attached her financial history. Perhaps you can talk sense into him before this damages the family name. Victoria Chen Morrison, Sarah's half-sister. The one she barely spoke to. The one who'd married into old Boston money and never let Sarah forget she'd chosen a different path. I assume you've already read the attachment," Nathaniel said coldly. "Student loans, credit card debt, a salary that's frankly depressing." Evelyn took the phone back. "None of which matters to me, surprisingly. What matters is that you lied to her for a year and expected her to just accept it, forgive you, fall into your arms. I was trying to protect myself. And in doing so, you destroyed any foundation of trust you'd built. Really, Nathaniel, I thought I raised you with more emotional intelligence than this." She stood, collecting her gloves. "You want my advice?" "Not particularly." "Good, because I'm giving it anyway. Stop hiding. Not from her, not from the board, not from yourself. You spent a year pretending to be someone else because you were afraid of being used for your money. But now you're about to lose someone real because you're too proud to be vulnerable. Decide what matters more, your ego or your heart." She paused at the door. "And Nathaniel? That girl who blocked your number? She's hurt and angry, which means she still cares. Indifference is the real death of love. You still have time." The Boston Public Library was Sarah's sanctuary. She'd come here since college, finding peace among the stone arches and reading rooms that smelled like old paper and possibility. Today, She sat in her favorite corner with a laptop and 3 grant proposals that desperately needed attention, but the cursor just blinked at her, accusatory. Nathaniel Cross donates $50 million to education initiatives. She'd made the mistake of Googling him. Now her phone was filled with articles, photos, interviews. Nathaniel Cross at charity galas. Nathaniel Cross closing billion-dollar deals. Nathaniel Cross named one of Forbes' most eligible bachelors 3 years running, until he'd apparently vanished from the social scene about 14 months ago. 14 months ago, right when he'd met her. You look like you're plotting murder, or contemplating a major life decision. Possibly both. Sarah looked up to find her best friend Maya, holding 2 coffees and wearing an expression of deep concern. How did you know I was here? Because I know you, and you always come here when your life implodes. Maya sat down, pushed 1 coffee across the table. So, your boyfriend is secretly a billionaire. 4 billion, apparently. There's a difference. Is there, though? Maya pulled out her phone, scrolled through something. Because I've been reading about him all morning, and Sarah, he's not just rich. He's like Forbes cover, TED Talk, 30 under 30 kind of rich and successful. He started Crosstech from nothing, built it into one of the most innovative tech companies in the country. He's brilliant. He's a liar. Also that. Maya sipped her coffee. But maybe also someone who fell in love with you and didn't know how to tell you without destroying everything. You're defending him? I'm trying to understand him. There's a difference. She leaned forward. Look, what he did was wrong. Lying for a year? Massive betrayal. But Sarah, I've watched you 2 together. I've seen the way he looks at you like you hung the moon. The way he remembers how you take your tea and which side of the bed you sleep on, and that you hate surprises, but love small, thoughtful gestures. That's not fake. Sarah's throat tightened. How do I know what was real? Maybe all of it was just an experiment. See how the regular people live. Slum it for a year before going back to his real life. Do you actually believe that? She didn't. That was the problem. She remembered every moment. The way he'd held her during her grandmother's funeral. The night he'd talked her through a panic attack at 3 a.m. The Sunday mornings making breakfast in her tiny kitchen. Those moments felt real. But so had everything else. And it had all been built on a lie. He wants to marry me, Sarah said quietly. Or he did, before I found out. There was a ring. Maya's eyes widened. How do you know? I found the receipt. After. When I went back to get my things from his place, his fake place, the apartment he apparently rents just to maintain the illusion, it was in the trash. Like he'd thrown away the whole plan. Maybe he threw it away because the plan was wrong. Maybe he realized that. Maya reached across, squeezed her hand. I'm not saying forgive him. I'm saying maybe listen to him. Hear his side, then decide. Sarah's phone buzzed. A number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer. But something made her press accept. Sarah Chen? A woman's voice, polished and cold. Yes? This is Victoria, your sister. We need to talk about your little situation with Nathaniel Cross before you embarrass yourself further. Sarah's blood turned to ice. How did you? I make it my business to know things. Meet me tomorrow. The Newberry. 1 o'clock. Don't be late, and please, try to dress appropriately. The line went dead. Maya was watching her carefully. What is it? My sister knows. About Nathan. About everything. Sarah set down her phone like it might explode. And she wants to meet. Your sister who hasn't spoken to you in 2 years? That sister? That's the one. Well, Maya said grimly, this should be fun. The Newbury Hotel restaurant was the kind of place where silverware cost more than Sarah's weekly grocery budget. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, waiters who moved like dancers. Sarah felt underdressed in her wool coat and simple sweater, even though she'd chosen her nicest outfit. The hostess led her through the dining room with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Victoria was already seated, perfectly coiffed in cream and gold, looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine spread titled, "How to Intimidate Your Lower-Class Relatives." She didn't stand when Sarah approached. "You're 7 minutes late," Victoria said, checking her watch, a delicate piece that probably cost more than Sarah's car. "Traffic." Sarah sat, refusing to apologize further. Victoria ordered for both of them without asking, sparkling water, salad Sarah couldn't pronounce. When the waiter left, she folded her hands on the table and smiled. It wasn't kind. "So, Nathaniel Cross. I have to admit, Sarah, I'm almost impressed. Snagging a billionaire, that takes skill. I didn't snag anyone. I didn't even know who he was." "Oh, come now. You expect me to believe you dated a man for a year and never once Googled him? Never wondered why someone so obviously educated and refined was supposedly working IT support?" Victoria laughed, sharp and cold. "Please, you knew. You just pretended not to because it served your purposes." Sarah's hands clenched in her lap. "I loved him. I still—" She stopped herself. "I thought he was real." "Real." Victoria leaned back. "Do you know what's real, Sarah? The fact that you're about to become a laughingstock. The poor girl who got played by a billionaire slumming it for entertainment. It's already making the rounds in certain circles. People are talking. Let them talk. How noble. But here's what you don't understand about that world, about his world. They'll eat you alive. Every mistake, every unflattering photo, every wrong fork at dinner. They'll pick you apart until there's nothing left." Victoria's voice dropped, almost gentle. "Almost. I'm trying to help you, Sarah. Walk away now, with dignity, before this gets worse. And if I don't want to walk away, then you're more naive than I thought." Victoria pulled an envelope from her purse, slid it across the table. "Open it." Sarah's hands shook as she lifted the flap. Inside, photographs. Nathaniel at charity galas with beautiful women in designer gowns. Nathaniel at business dinners, laughing with people who looked like they owned small countries. Nathaniel in a world so far removed from her tiny North End apartment, it might as well be another planet. "This is who he really is," Victoria said softly. "Not the man eating $2 tacos and riding the subway. That was a costume, Sarah, a role he played. This?" She tapped the photos. "This is real." Sarah stared at the images. In every one, Nathaniel looked confident, powerful, comfortable. Nothing like the man who'd stumbled over his words the first time he'd told her he loved her. Nothing like the person who'd held her during thunderstorms because he remembered she was afraid of them. "Why are you doing this?" Sarah asked. "Because I'm your sister, and because I know what it's like to marry into that world. I know the sacrifices, the compromises, the way you have to reshape yourself into something acceptable." Victoria's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something raw underneath. "I know what it costs, and I don't want that for you. You haven't spoken to me in 2 years. Because you judged me for my choices, for marrying Richard, for the life I built." Victoria's voice hardened again. "But at least I went into it with my eyes open. You're walking into a minefield blindfolded, convinced it's a garden." The food arrived. Neither of them touched it. Sarah gathered the photos, put them back in the envelope. "Thank you for lunch, and for your concern, but I'll make my own decisions." "Then you're a fool." Victoria pulled out her phone, typed something quickly. "I just sent you a link. An interview Nathaniel gave to Forbes 2 years ago. Read it. Pay special attention to what he says about relationships and trust." Sarah stood. Goodbye, Victoria. Sarah. Her sister's voice stopped her at the edge of the table. When this falls apart, and it will, don't say I didn't warn you. Sarah made it to the street before she pulled out her phone. Her hands were still shaking as she opened the link Victoria had sent. Forbes, Nathaniel Cross on building an empire and the price of success. She almost didn't read it, almost deleted it, and blocked Victoria's number, and went home to her apartment where she could pretend this entire nightmare wasn't happening. But Maya's voice echoed in her head. Hear his side, then decide. The article was 2 years old, dated long before they'd met. Most of it was standard CEO interview material, business philosophy, company vision, future plans. Then, near the end, Forbes. You've been linked romantically to several high-profile women over the years, but never anything serious. Any thoughts on settling down? Cross. Honestly, I don't know if that's in the cards for me. In this position, it's nearly impossible to know if someone wants you or what you represent. The wealth, the access, the lifestyle. I watched my father go through 3 marriages, each one ending when the romance of being rich wore off and the reality of being with him set in. At some point, you start to wonder if genuine connection is even possible when you can never escape what you are. Forbes. That sounds lonely. Cross. It is. But it's also safer. You can't be betrayed by someone you never truly let in. Sarah read the passage 3 times. The loneliness in those words felt familiar. The same loneliness she'd seen in his eyes sometimes, when he thought she wasn't looking. The same fear she'd heard in his voice when he'd told her the truth. I was trying to protect myself. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It's Marcus Reed, Nathaniel's attorney. We need to talk. It's urgent. Please call me. Then another text, this one from Maya. Turn on channel 7. Now. Sarah's stomach dropped. She pulled up the news app on her phone, found the local station's live stream. The headline made her knees weak. Crosstech CEO Nathaniel Cross under investigation. Fraud allegations rock billion-dollar company. The reporter stood outside Crosstech headquarters, her expression grave. In a shocking development, federal prosecutors have launched an investigation into Crosstech Industries and its CEO, Nathaniel Cross, following allegations of securities fraud and misleading investors. Sources close to the investigation suggest the charges stem from financial discrepancies discovered during the upcoming Horizon merger due diligence. If convicted, Cross could face up to 20 years in prison and the complete dissolution of his company. Cross has not yet commented publicly, but his attorney released a brief statement denying all allegations and calling the investigation a targeted attack by competitors. More on this developing story as it unfolds. Sarah's phone rang. Marcus Reed's number. She answered with shaking hands. What's happening? Where are you? Marcus's voice was clipped, urgent. I need you to listen carefully. This investigation, it's not legitimate. Someone planted false documents in our merger files. We think it's targeted sabotage. But right now, Nathaniel is facing federal charges and the board is threatening to remove him. He needs... Marcus paused. Look, I know you two aren't speaking. I know he lied to you and you have every right to be angry. But Sarah, he's in trouble. Real trouble. And I think you're the only person who can help. Me? How could I possibly? Because you're the only person in his life he never performed for. The only one who knows who he actually is underneath all of this. Marcus's voice softened. He's at his real apartment, the one in Back Bay he never showed you. He's alone, and he's falling apart, and he won't let anyone help him. Please, just talk to him. Sarah closed her eyes. 48 hours ago, she would have said no, would have let him face this alone as payment for his deception. But that was before she'd read his words in that Forbes interview. Before she'd understood that his lie wasn't about manipulating her. It was about being so afraid of never being truly known that he'd hidden himself away from everyone, including her. "Send me the address," she said quietly. 1456. The Back Bay apartment building was everything Sarah expected, and nothing she was prepared for. Marble lobby, doorman in uniform, the kind of hushed elegance that whispered old money, even though Nathaniel's fortune was self-made. The doorman recognized her from the photo Marcus must have sent ahead, waving her through with a sympathetic nod that made her stomach twist. 40th floor, corner unit. The elevator ride felt endless. She knocked. Once. Twice. Nothing. "Nathan?" Her voice cracked on his name. The name she'd called him for a year. The one that now felt like a stranger's. "It's me. Please open the door." Silence. Then finally the sound of a lock turning. He looked terrible. Hair uncombed, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt she'd never seen, eyes red-rimmed like he hadn't slept in days. Behind him she could see the apartment, massive windows overlooking the city, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. Everything cold and pristine except for the man standing in the doorway looking like his world had just collapsed. "You shouldn't be here," he said hoarsely. "The press, if they see you." "I don't care about the press." Sarah pushed past him into the apartment. "Marcus called me. Told me what's happening." Nathaniel closed the door, leaned against it like it was the only thing holding him upright. "So, you know, that I'm not just a liar, I'm also potentially a criminal. Great timing for you to find out what kind of man I really am." "Stop it." Sarah turned to face him. "I read the news. I also read a Forbes interview you gave 2 years ago. The one where you said you didn't think genuine connection was possible for someone in your position." His jaw tightened. "Sarah, is that why you lied? Because you thought that was the only way I'd see you? Not Crosstech's CEO, not the billionaire, just you? Does it matter now?" "Yes," she said fiercely. "It matters, because I've spent 3 days hating you for lying to me. And I need to know if I was hating you for the right reasons, or if I'm just another person who couldn't see past the walls you built." Nathaniel moved away from the door, walked to the windows. The December sun was setting, painting the city in shades of amber and gold. "I told myself it was about protection, about making sure you loved me for the right reasons. But the truth is, I was a coward. I was so terrified of being used, of being wanted for what I could provide instead of who I am, that I built an entire fake life. And in doing so, I used you. I made you fall in love with someone who didn't exist. But he did exist." Sarah moved closer, her reflection joining his in the glass. "The man who held me when my grandmother died. That was real. The person who spent 3 hours helping me revise a grant proposal because he knew how much it mattered to me. That was real. The way you laughed at my terrible jokes and remembered I like my tea with honey and read to me when I couldn't sleep. All of that was real, Nathan." He turned to her, and she saw tears tracking down his face. "How can you say that? How can you stand here after everything I did and tell me that was real?" "Because I know the difference between a performance and vulnerability. And yes, you lied about your name and your job and your bank account. But you couldn't fake the way you looked at me. You couldn't fake being afraid of thunderstorms or crying at sad movies or talking in your sleep." She reached up, touched his face. "The money and the company and all of this," she gestured at the apartment. "That's what you do. But the man I fell in love with? That's who you are. Sarah." His voice broke on her name. "I don't deserve. Probably not. But we're not talking about what you deserve right now. We're talking about what's true." She took a breath. "Marcus said someone sabotaged you. Planted false documents. Do you know who?" The shift in topic seemed to ground him. He wiped his eyes, nodded. We have suspicions. A competitor who's been trying to block the Horizon merger. But the damage is done. The board is meeting tomorrow to discuss removing me as CEO. The investigation could take months, maybe years. Even if we prove the documents were planted, the reputation damage. He trailed off. Crosstech was my life. I built it from nothing. And now I'm watching it die because I was too focused on my personal life to see the knife coming. That's not true, isn't it? I missed board meetings because I was with you. I ignored warning signs because I was too busy planning a proposal. I let my guard down, and this is what happens. Sarah felt something cold settle in her chest. So you're saying this is my fault? That falling in love with me destroyed your company? No. God, no, that's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Nathan? Because it sounds like you're regretting everything. The relationship, the truth, all of it. I regret the lying, he said intensely. I regret the pain I caused you. But I could never regret loving you. Even if it cost me everything else. I don't regret that. The words hung between them, raw and honest. Outside, the city lights were beginning to flicker on, thousands of lives being lived in buildings spread across Boston like stars. Sarah thought about her tiny apartment in the North End, about the life she'd built for herself, that was small but honest. Then she thought about this man, standing in his fortress of glass and steel, more alone than anyone she'd ever met. The board meeting, she said quietly. When is it? Tomorrow, 2:00. Why? Because you're not going to face it alone. She pulled out her phone, started typing. I'm calling Maya, and then we're calling Marcus. And then you're going to tell me everything about this investigation, every detail, because if someone is trying to destroy you, we're going to figure out who and why. Sarah, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. But here's the thing about genuine connection, Nathan. It doesn't disappear just because things get hard. It doesn't evaporate the second your bank account becomes public knowledge. She met his eyes. You spent a year pretending to be poor because you were afraid I'd only want you for your money. Well, now everyone knows exactly who you are and what you're worth. And I'm still here. So maybe it's time to stop being afraid. He stared at her like she'd just performed a miracle. Then slowly, he crossed the space between them and pulled her into his arms. She felt him shaking, felt the way he held her like she was the only solid thing in a world that had turned liquid. I love you, he whispered against her hair. I love you, and I'm sorry, and I don't know how to fix this. We'll figure it out. She pulled back just enough to look at him. But Nathan, no more lies. Ever. About anything. Even the small things. Especially the small things. I promise. No more lies. Good. She took his hand, led him to the enormous couch that looked like it had never been sat on. Now tell me everything, and I mean everything. Who had access to the merger documents? Who benefits if the deal falls apart? Who hates you enough to risk federal charges? As he began to explain, the complex web of corporate rivalries, the Horizon merger that would shift the entire industry, the competitors who'd been circling like sharks, Sarah realized she was seeing yet another side of him. Not Nathan the boyfriend or Nathaniel the CEO, but someone in between. Someone brilliant and strategic and fighting for something he'd built with his own hands. And despite everything, the lies, the betrayal, the impossible situation, she realized she was exactly where she wanted to be. They worked through the night. Marcus arrived at midnight with his paralegal and 3 banker's boxes full of documents. Maya showed up 20 minutes later with coffee, Chinese takeout, and a determined expression that said she was ready to fight whatever needed fighting. Okay, Maya said, spreading files across Nathaniel's dining table. A table that could seat 12 and probably cost more than her car. Walk me through this like I'm 5. What exactly are they accusing you of? Nathaniel pulled up a document on his laptop, turned it so everyone could see. The accusation is that Crosstech artificially inflated our user engagement numbers to make the company more attractive for the Horizon merger. If true, it would constitute securities fraud. The problem is, these documents, he pointed to a series of spreadsheets, show discrepancies between our public reports and internal metrics. Documents that didn't exist until 3 weeks ago. How do you know they didn't exist? Sarah asked. Because I personally review every report that goes to investors. These numbers are wrong, not slightly off, completely fabricated. He rubbed his eyes. Someone created false internal documents, planted them in our merger due diligence files, and tipped off the SEC. Marcus leaned forward. We've narrowed it down to 4 people who had the access and technical knowledge to pull this off. 3 are competitors. The 4th is... He hesitated, glancing at Nathaniel. James Corbin, Nathaniel finished. My former business partner. The man I forced out of Crosstech 6 years ago for ethics violations. Sarah felt something click into place. He has a grudge. More than a grudge. When I removed him, he lost approximately $200 million in equity. He's been trying to start competing companies ever since, but none of them have gained traction. If Crosstech goes down, it vindicates him. Proves I was the problem, not him. So how do we prove it was him? Maya asked. We can't, not legally. Not without evidence that would hold up in court. Marcus pulled out another file. But here's what we do have. Corbin recently hired 3 former Crosstech employees. All 3 left the company within the past year. All 3 had access to our systems before they left. And all 3 signed NDAs they're now potentially violating. Sarah's mind was racing. Could they have kept access? Backdoor into your systems? Possible, Nathaniel said. But our security is... He stopped. Wait. Sarah, what was the date on those documents? The falsified ones? Marcus checked. They're dated November 8th. November 8th. That was the day of the system update, when we migrated everything to new servers. Nathaniel was typing rapidly now, pulling up screens of code Sarah couldn't begin to understand. If someone had old access credentials, the migration would have been the perfect time to slip in false files. The system was chaos for 48 hours. No one would have noticed extra activity. Can you trace it? Sarah asked. Maybe. If they were sloppy. If they left a digital footprint. He was already calling someone, checking his watch even though it was nearly 2 a.m. David? Yeah, I know what time it is. I need you to pull the server logs from November 7th through 9th. Every access point, every login, every file transfer. I don't care if it takes all night. I need it by 8 a.m. He hung up, met Sarah's eyes. This might work. If we can prove unauthorized access, we can at least create reasonable doubt about the document's legitimacy. And if we can't? Maya asked. Then I lose everything tomorrow at 2 o'clock. The weight of it settled over the room. Sarah looked around at the apartment. The expensive art on the walls. The view that probably cost $10 million by itself. The life Nathaniel had built through intelligence and ruthless determination. All of it hanging by a thread. We need a backup plan, she said quietly. What happens if the board votes to remove you? They install an interim CEO, probably Gerald Morrison. He's been angling for my position since I promoted someone else to COO last year. Nathaniel's voice was flat, exhausted. The company continues. The merger probably falls through, and I spend the next year fighting federal charges. Gerald Morrison, Sarah repeated. The name felt familiar. Wait. Morrison. As in, Richard Morrison's uncle, Nathaniel confirmed, understanding crossing his face. Your sister's husband's family. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Victoria's sudden concern. The lunch. the warning to walk away. She knew, Sarah said. She knew this was coming. That's why she wanted to meet with me, to make sure I'd be gone before everything imploded, so I couldn't help you. Or to protect you, Maya offered quietly. From the fallout. No, Sarah was certain. She was protecting them. If Gerald becomes CEO and I'm still with Nathan, it creates a connection between our families. Makes it look like they were involved in his removal. Nathaniel stood abruptly, walked to the windows. Dawn was starting to break over Boston, the sky shifting from black to deep blue. Maybe they were. Gerald's been pushing for board changes for months. If Corbin approached him with a way to force me out, you'd have both motive and opportunity, Marcus finished grimly. But again, proving it is another matter entirely. Sarah joined Nathaniel at the window. Up close, she could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands were clenched into fists. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that I spent 10 years building Crosstech, sacrificed relationships, health, any semblance of normal life. Also, I could prove I was more than my father's disappointments and my mother's expectations. His voice was rough. And now I'm watching it disappear because I trusted the wrong people and didn't see the knife coming. Then we make them show their hand, Sarah said. The plan was forming in her mind, reckless and probably stupid, but sometimes stupid was all you had. The board meeting, it's tomorrow at 2? Yes. Who attends? Board members, key executives, legal counsel, anyone with significant stake in the company's future. So Gerald will be there. And probably Corbin, if he's playing puppet master. Sarah turned to Marcus. Can you get me into that meeting? Absolutely not, Nathaniel said immediately. Sarah, these people will destroy you. They'll tear you apart just for being associated with me. Let them try. She faced him fully, holding his gaze. You said you spent a year pretending to be poor because you wanted someone to love you for who you are, not what you represent. Well, this is who you are, Nathan. Crosstech isn't just a company. It's proof that you built something real, something that matters. And I'm not going to stand by and watch them take it from you without a fight. She's right, Maya said. Sometimes the best defense is a really dramatic offense. Plus, I've always wanted to crash a billionaire board meeting. You're not crashing anything, Sarah told her. Then, to Nathaniel. But I am. And you're going to trust me, like I trusted you, even when I shouldn't have. He studied her face for a long moment. Outside, the city was waking up. Lights in windows, early morning traffic, the world continuing its rotation despite their private crisis. Finally, he nodded. Okay, he said quietly. What do you need? Sarah smiled, feeling something fierce and protective unfurl in her chest. First, I need you to teach me everything about that merger in the next 12 hours. And second, she glanced at Marcus. I need a really good suit. The Crosstech boardroom was designed to intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a table carved from a single piece of walnut, chairs that cost more than most people's monthly salary. 17 board members sat in those chairs now, their expressions ranging from concern to barely concealed satisfaction. At the head of the table, Gerald Morrison looked like a man who'd already won. Sarah stood outside the glass doors with Marcus, wearing a charcoal Tom Ford suit that had been delivered to Nathaniel's apartment at 6 that morning. It fit perfectly. He'd known her measurements, of course, from a year of living in close quarters. The thought made her heart ache and strengthen simultaneously. You don't have to do this, Marcus said quietly. We got the server logs. David found irregularities in the November 8th access patterns. It's not definitive proof, but it's enough to create doubt. Doubt isn't enough. Sarah smoothed the jacket, checking her reflection in the glass. She looked like she belonged in this world. Polished, professional. Nothing like the grant writer who ate $2 tacos and rode the subway. The armor felt strange and right all at once. They need to see who he really is, and I'm the only one who can show them. Inside, she could see Nathaniel at the far end of the table, isolated. His mother sat 3 seats away, her face carefully neutral. James Corbin wasn't present, but Sarah knew he was watching somehow. Men like him always watch their vengeance unfold. The board secretary opened the doors. "They're ready for you, Ms. Chen." Every head turned as she walked in. Sarah felt their eyes cataloging her. The Asian woman in the expensive suit, the coffee shop girl who'd somehow captured the attention of Boston's most eligible bachelor. She could read their thoughts in their expressions. Gold digger, distraction, liability. Let them think it. Let them underestimate her. "Members of the board," she said, her voice steady and clear. "Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Sarah Chen, and I've been in a relationship with Nathaniel Cross for the past 13 months. Most of that time, I didn't know who he really was. He lied to me about his identity, his wealth, his position. When I found out the truth 5 days ago, I was devastated, angry. I felt betrayed in the most fundamental way." She saw Nathaniel's jaw tighten, saw his hands clench on the table. Across from him, Gerald Morrison was smiling slightly. "I tell you this," Sarah continued, "because I want you to understand that I have no illusions about Nathaniel Cross. I know he's capable of deception. I know he makes calculated decisions. I know he can be ruthless when he believes it's necessary." She paused, letting the words settle. "I also know that none of you sitting here today actually know him at all." The smile dropped from Gerald's face. "For the past year, I watched a man who I thought was struggling financially give his last $20 to a homeless veteran. I watched him spend 3 hours teaching coding to underprivileged teenagers at a community center because he believed they deserved opportunity. I watched him cry at a documentary about climate change and then research renewable energy solutions for 4 hours straight because he couldn't stand feeling helpless." She walked slowly around the table, making eye contact with each board member. "That man exists. He's the same person who built Crosstech from nothing, who has grown this company into something that employs 11,000 people and their families. The same person who is now being accused of fraud by people who have never once asked themselves why these supposed discrepancies only appeared during the most important merger of the company's history." "Ms. Chen," Gerald interrupted, his voice dripping condescension. "We appreciate your perspective, but this is a board meeting to discuss serious allegations of securities fraud, not a character witness for your boyfriend's romantic gestures." "You're right," Sarah agreed. "So let's discuss the allegations. Specifically, let's discuss who benefits from them." She pulled out her phone, pulled up the file Marcus had prepared. "James Corbin, former business partner removed from Crosstech 6 years ago for attempting to steal proprietary code and sell it to competitors. Currently CEO of Apex Innovations, which has been failing for 3 consecutive quarters." She placed the phone on the table, sliding it toward the center so the screen was visible. Apex Innovations recently hired 3 former Crosstech employees. All 3 departed under questionable circumstances. All 3 had system access during the November server migration, the exact window when the fraudulent documents were allegedly created. "This is circumstantial at best," Gerald said, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. "Is it?" Sarah looked directly at him. "Because here's what's interesting, Mr. Morrison. Your nephew's wife, my half-sister, contacted me 3 days before this investigation became public, to warn me away from Nathaniel, to tell me I was going to be humiliated. How exactly did she know what was coming unless someone in your family was involved in orchestrating it?" The room went silent. Evelyn Cross was sitting forward now, her eyes sharp and assessing. Several board members were exchanging glances. Gerald's face had gone red. That's a serious accusation. Yes, it is. Just like accusing your CEO of securities fraud based on documents that materially cannot be authentic. Sarah turned to the broader room. The server logs show unauthorized access on November 8th at 2:47 a.m. The IP address traces back to a location in Cambridge, the same neighborhood where one of those former employees lives. Crosstech's head of security confirmed this morning that the falsified documents contain metadata inconsistencies that prove they were created externally and inserted into the system, not generated internally. She could see Nathaniel watching her with something like awe. Marcus was nodding almost imperceptibly from his position by the door. But beyond the technical evidence, Sarah continued, her voice softening, I want you to ask yourselves something. The man you're accusing, the one who built this company through innovation and integrity, does it make sense that he would risk everything on falsified numbers? That he would jeopardize a merger he's worked toward for 3 years? That he would commit fraud when Crosstech's legitimate growth has been exponential? She moved to stand behind Nathaniel's chair, placing one hand on his shoulder. The gesture was deliberate, claiming him publicly, showing the board that he wasn't alone. Or does it make more sense that someone who has harbored a grudge for 6 years would finally see an opportunity for revenge? That someone who stands to benefit from Nathaniel's removal would be willing to risk federal investigation to make it happen? She looked at Gerald again. Someone who perhaps believed the interim CEO position was a foregone conclusion? The silence stretched. Then Evelyn Cross spoke, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. I believe we need to table the removal vote until a full independent investigation can be conducted, both of the fraud allegations and of the board's potential conflicts of interest. She stared at Gerald. I move that we engage an external forensic accounting firm and security consultant. All in favor? Hands rose around the table. Not all of them. Gerald and 2 others kept their hands down. But enough. More than enough. Motion carries, Evelyn said. Gerald, I believe you should recuse yourself from further proceedings pending the conflict investigation. Gerald stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This is absurd. You're taking the word of some girl. That girl just did more due diligence in 5 minutes than this board has done in 2 weeks, Evelyn snapped. Sit down or leave, Gerald, but either way, you're done undermining my son. He left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the glass. The tension in the room shifted, releasing like a held breath. Board members began talking in low voices, some pulling out phones, others huddling in conversation. Sarah felt her knees go weak, adrenaline draining away as quickly as it had come. Nathaniel stood, turned to face her. His eyes were bright, emotion written across every line of his face. Sarah, we need to talk, she said quietly. Not here. Somewhere private. He nodded, addressing the board without looking away from her. If you'll excuse me, I believe Ms. Chen and I have some things to discuss. Marcus can handle the rest of the procedural matters. They didn't speak in the elevator, didn't touch. The silence between them felt heavy with everything unsaid, everything that had happened in the past week. The lies, the revelations, the federal investigation, and now this. Sarah's hands were shaking from adrenaline crash, and she gripped them together to keep Nathaniel from noticing. He noticed anyway. He always noticed. His office was exactly what she'd expected. Sleek, minimalist, commanding a view of Boston that made her tiny apartment feel like a shoebox. But instead of going to his desk, he led her to a small sitting area by the windows, away from the corporate trappings. You shouldn't have done that, he said finally. You painted a target on yourself. Gerald, Corbin, they'll come after you now. Let them. Sarah kicked off the heels that were killing her feet, curling into the leather chair. I'm not afraid of them. You should be. These people don't fight fair. Neither do I, apparently. She laughed, but it came out shaky. God, Nathan, I just accused a board member of conspiracy in front of 17 witnesses. What was I thinking? You were thinking about saving my company, about defending me when I couldn't defend myself. He knelt in front of her chair, taking her hands. You were being extraordinary, Sarah, like you always are. She looked down at their joined hands, his larger, scarred from an accident he'd told her about months ago, before she knew the accident had happened while he was pulling an employee from a burning car. Everything she'd learned about him had layers now. The lies peeled away to reveal truths, which peeled away to reveal deeper truths still. I read the rest of that Forbes interview, she said quietly. After the part Victoria sent me, you talked about your father, how he measured worth in profit margins and saw people as assets or liabilities, how you built Crosstech partly to prove you were different from him. Nathaniel's grip tightened on her hands. I haven't spoken to him in 6 years. Not since he told me my company was a vanity project that would fail within 2 years. But it didn't fail. You proved him wrong. Did I? Because right now it feels like he was right. Like I was so busy trying to be different from him that I became exactly the same. Lying to people, manipulating situations, measuring relationships in terms of risk and reward. His voice cracked. You asked me in the apartment why I lied to you. The real answer? Because my father taught me that love was transactional, that people only stayed as long as the benefits outweighed the costs. And I was terrified that if you knew what I was worth, you'd never know what I was worth to you. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. It's pathetic. No, it's human. She pulled one hand free to touch his face, feeling the stubble he hadn't had time to shave, the exhaustion carved into every line. Nathan, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. No protection, no calculation, just truth. Anything. Do you wish we'd never met? If you could go back to before that coffee shop, before I spilled coffee on your laptop and apologized 6 times and you said... Her voice wavered. You said, it's okay. I needed an excuse to buy a new one anyway. Do you wish you could go back and walk a different direction that day? No. The word was immediate, fierce. God, no. Sarah, meeting you was the first real thing that happened to me in 10 years. Everything else, the company, the wealth, the success, it all felt like I was playing a role my father wrote for me, even after I cut him out of my life. But with you, I got to be someone who wasn't defined by what he built or what he was running from. I got to be just Nathan. Except Nathan isn't your real name. It is, though. Nathaniel is what my father calls me, what the board calls me, what appears on Forbes lists and business contracts. But Nathan... He pressed her hand against his chest, over his heart. Nathan is who I am when I'm not performing, and you're the only person who's ever met him. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath her palm. In the boardroom, she'd been so sure, so certain that she was fighting for something worth saving. But here, in the quiet aftermath, doubt crept in. I don't know if I can do this. Your world, it's so different from mine. The scrutiny, the pressure, the way people look at everything like it's a transaction. I watch those board members sizing me up like I was a quarterly report. I know, and I would never ask you to change who you are to fit into it. But that's the thing, isn't it? If we stay together, I have to fit in somehow. I can't keep living in my tiny apartment while you live in a penthouse. I can't keep working my grant-writing job while you're closing billion-dollar deals. At some point, the disconnect becomes impossible. Nathaniel pulled back, sitting on the floor in front of her, his expensive suit probably getting ruined. He didn't seem to care. What if we find a different way? Not your world or my world, but something in between. I can step back from Crosstech, not entirely, but enough. Hire a president to handle day-to-day operations. Focus on the parts I actually care about: innovation, employee development, making sure we're building something meaningful instead of just profitable. You'd do that? I'd do more than that. Sarah, these past 5 days without you have been the worst of my life. Worse than when my father disowned me. Worse than when Corbin tried to destroy the company the first time. Because losing you meant losing the only person who sees me as something other than a bank account or a business asset. He took both her hands again. So yes, I'd restructure my entire life. I'd sell the penthouse, fire the board members who can't respect you, work from home in sweatpants if that's what it takes. Because you're not an inconvenience to my world, Sarah. You're the only part of it that feels real. Sarah felt something break open in her chest. All the anger and hurt and betrayal from the past week, finally cracking apart to reveal what had been underneath all along. Love. Stubborn, inconvenient, utterly irrational love for this man who'd lied to her and defended her and built walls around himself so high he'd forgotten what air tasted like on the other side. I have conditions, she said. Hope flickered across his face. Name them. No more lies, ever. I don't care if you think you're protecting me or yourself. Complete honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Done. I keep my job, my apartment, my life. I'm not going to become some trophy girlfriend who exists to make you look good at charity galas. I would never want that. But maybe, he hesitated, maybe sometimes I could come to your world, keep some clothes at your apartment, learn to cook in that tiny kitchen, remember what it feels like to be normal. Normal, Sarah laughed. Nathan, we're never going to be normal. You're a billionaire CEO, and I'm a grant writer who uses coupons. But maybe we can be honest. Maybe that's enough. It's more than enough. It's everything. He stood, pulling her to her feet, wrapping his arms around her in a way that felt like coming home. I love you. I've loved you since the day you told me my tie was ugly and I should burn it. Your tie was ugly. It had cartoon characters on it. It was Snoopy, and I bought it ironically. Nothing about that tie was ironic. She pulled back to look at him, memorizing this moment. The afternoon light through the windows, the city spread below them. The man who'd risked everything because he was too afraid to risk being known. I love you too, even though you're an idiot who thought lying for a year was a good relationship strategy. In my defense, I didn't plan to fall in love with you. What was the plan? Date casually, keep it shallow, maintain control. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the corner of her mouth. Then you showed up with your terrible coffee-spilling skills, and your brilliant mind, and your complete inability to be impressed by anything except genuine kindness. And all my plans went straight to hell. Good, Sarah said, and kissed him properly. They stood there for a long time, holding each other while the city moved below and the December sun tracked across the sky. Eventually, Sarah's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, and again. She checked it reluctantly. Messages from Maya, from Marcus, from numbers she didn't recognize, all saying variations of the same thing. The video had gone viral. What video? Nathaniel asked. Sarah pulled it up. Someone in the boardroom, she suspected Evelyn, had recorded her speech and posted it online. Already 3 million views, comments flooding in. This is what real love looks like. She defended him when he was at his lowest. Goals, crying at my desk. Oh God, Sarah groaned. I'm going to be a meme, aren't I? Nathaniel looked at the screen, then at her, his expression caught between amusement and concern. For what it's worth, you look incredibly beautiful while destroying Gerald Morrison's credibility. That's not helpful. No, but it's true. He pocketed her phone, pulling her close again. Sarah, whatever happens next, the investigation, the media attention, the fallout, we face it together. No more secrets, no more hiding, just us, figuring it out as we go. She rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, feeling the truth of his words settle into her bones. Together, she agreed. But Nathan? Yeah? We're definitely burning that Snoopy tie. Christmas Eve arrived with snow falling soft and silent over Boston. Not the heavy, wet snow that turned to slush within hours, but the kind that clung to tree branches and windowsills like something out of a postcard. Sarah stood at the window of Nathaniel's Back Bay apartment. Their apartment now, though she still kept her place in the North End for nights when she needed to remember who she'd been before all of this, and watched the city transform into something gentler than itself. Behind her, she could hear Nathan in the kitchen, attempting to make hot chocolate from scratch. She smiled at the sound of muttered cursing, followed by the clatter of a whisk hitting the floor. 3 months since the board meeting. 3 months since the independent investigation had confirmed what they'd suspected. James Corbin and Gerald Morrison had conspired to plant the fraudulent documents. Both men now facing federal charges, while Crosstech's reputation slowly rebuilt itself. 3 months since she'd stood in front of 17 strangers and defended the man she loved, not knowing that moment would change everything. The video had done more than go viral. It had become a cultural phenomenon. The grant writer's speech, they called it. Think pieces about authentic love in an age of influencers. Magazine covers. Interview requests they'd both declined. The attention had been overwhelming, invasive, exactly as terrible as Nathan had warned. But they'd survived it. Together. I burned the milk, Nathan announced, appearing beside her with 2 mugs of store-bought hot chocolate instead. But I tried. That should count for something. It counts for everything. Sarah took the mug, warmth spreading through her fingers. Outside, families were walking through the snow. Children pulling sleds, couples holding hands. Normal life, continuing as it always had, while hers had been irrevocably transformed. My mother called, Nathan said. She wants to know if we're coming to the Christmas dinner tomorrow. Are we? Only if you want to. I told her we might just stay here, order Chinese food, watch bad movies. He set down his mug, turned to face her fully. I know the past few months have been intense. The investigation, the media, the trial preparation. I know you didn't sign up for any of this. I signed up for you, Sarah corrected. Everything else is just context. Expensive, invasive, occasionally nightmare-inducing context. Still context. She touched his face, the gesture as natural now as breathing. Besides, I kind of like proving everyone wrong. All those people who said I was just a gold digger? That we wouldn't last once the novelty wore off? Watching them eat their words has been deeply satisfying. Nathan laughed, the sound warm and real. He laughed more now, she'd noticed. Smiled more. Like something that had been locked inside him for years had finally been given permission to exist. You're terrifying when you're vindicated. It's one of my favorite things about you. I have a list of your favorite things about me. Would you like to hear it? Always. Number 1. My ability to make you laugh at inappropriate times. Number 2. My encyclopedic knowledge of bad reality TV. Number 3. The way I steal your hoodies even though I have approximately 40 of my own. Number 4. She paused, suddenly serious. The way I see you. Not Nathaniel Cross, CEO. Not the billionaire, just Nathan. The man who cries at animal rescue videos and can't make hot chocolate and talks in his sleep about code optimization. I do not talk about code optimization in my sleep. You absolutely do. Last Tuesday, you solved a server issue while completely unconscious. I recorded it, He groaned. "Please tell me you didn't show Marcus." "I showed everyone. It's the company's new ringtone." They stood there in comfortable silence, watching snow fall over their city. Their city now, not his world or hers, but something they were building together. Nathan had stepped back from day-to-day operations at Crosstech, hiring a president just as he'd promised. He still worked, still attended important meetings, still built and innovated. But he also spent Tuesday afternoons volunteering at Sarah's youth literacy program, ate $2 tacos, rode the subway, lived in the space between who he'd been and who he was becoming. Sarah had kept her job, her apartment, her life, but she'd also expanded into his. Learning to navigate charity galas and board dinners, discovering she was better at this world than she'd expected. Not because she changed herself to fit it, but because she refused to. The other philanthropists and executives had been shocked at first by her directness, her unwillingness to play social games. Now they respected her for it. Some even liked her. "I have something for you," Nathan said suddenly. "It's not the ring." "I threw that one away. It felt wrong, like it belonged to a different version of us. But I got you something else." He disappeared into the bedroom, returned with a small wrapped box. Not velvet this time, just simple brown paper tied with string, the kind of wrapping she might have done herself. Sarah opened it carefully. Inside, a key. Not to his apartment. She already had that. This one was older, tarnished brass with a tag attached. "It's to my first office," Nathan explained. "The place where I started Crosstech. It's been sitting empty for years, but I kept paying rent on it because I couldn't let it go. I was thinking..." He hesitated, vulnerable in a way that still surprised her. "Maybe we could turn it into something new. A community tech center. Teaching coding to kids who can't afford fancy programs. You could run the literacy side. I'd handle the technical education. Something that's ours, not yours or mine, but what we build together." Sarah stared at the key, feeling tears prick her eyes. It wasn't a ring, but it was better. A ring was a promise of forever. This was a promise of purpose, of building something meaningful in the space between their two worlds. "Yes," she whispered. "God, yes." He kissed her then, soft and deep, and she tasted chocolate and snow and the future they were creating one honest moment at a time. Outside, church bells began to ring, Christmas Eve services starting across the city. Inside, two people who'd found each other through lies and stayed through truth held each other as snow fell and the world turned, and love proved itself to be the most irrational, essential, transformative force in existence. "I love you," Nathan said against her hair. "My brilliant, terrifying, perfect Sarah. I love you too. My reformed liar, my accidental philanthropist, my Nathan. Not Nathaniel Cross, billionaire CEO. Not the man on Forbes covers or in courtroom sketches. Just Nathan. The person she'd fallen in love with in a coffee shop 13 months ago, who'd been real even when everything else was false. The velvet box had sat on a bathroom sink once, holding a ring meant for a proposal built on deception. Now there was just a brass key and a promise, and two people brave enough to build something honest in a world that rewarded performance. It wasn't the fairy tale Sarah had imagined. It was better. It was real. And on Christmas Eve, with snow falling over Boston and church bells ringing and hot chocolate going cold on the windowsill, that was more than enough. It was everything. If this story touched your heart, leave your rating from 0 to 10 in the comments. And subscribe, because every love story deserves to be told, especially the ones that begin with lies and end with truth.